Good evening, everyone. We're just getting started here with our community check-in. So we're going to wait a minute while we have all attendees in and make sure that all systems are go before we launch our meeting. All right, so as we're doing that, and I think we're probably able to proceed. I want to make one just note and announcement with regard to our format this evening. So like we have in prior community check-ins, this is both a live meeting as well as being recorded so that others who may not be able to make it during this time slot can watch on demand. And so might call this a meeting, but even better than a meeting. So we call this a community check-in. So the way we'll do it is over the course of the next maybe 15 or 20 minutes, we'll have city staff provide updates on a variety of topics related to our Uplift Local program overall, issues related to the pandemic, specific to Palo Alto that we believe residents and other community members might be interested in. So we'll go through that as a presentation, record that, and then we'll end the recording. And at that point, for anyone who's interested, we can open up the attendees and have folks join us as panelists, I think is the appropriate term here in the Zoom environment, and then have a conversation. So folks are welcome to stay and we'll have a two-way dialogue at that point so that it's very casual and hopefully comfortable for everyone rather than having to work through the typical protocol of being called on and being invited to ask a question or what have you, and then get the response. So again, this is actually the first time we'll be doing that second part, or at least announcing it up front, so that members of the community who would like to stick around after the presentation is done and engage in any questions or just general discussion can do so on the same screen that all of us are. So I hope that's clear enough. So with that, welcome everyone. My name's Ed Shikata. I'm city manager here in the city of Palo Alto, and we really would like to welcome you to our latest monthly community check-in. This is for the month of February here on February 16th. We've got a number of updates from staff that will be presented. Oh, thank you. And so let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Yep, this is our first slide. Next up. All right, terrific. And just to give you a brief overview of what we'll be discussing here during this session, we've got, oops, and I just lost my screen, an update on the restrictions as it relates to the pandemic, both statewide as well as applicable to Santa Clara County. We'll talk about what's happening with Uplift Local on the open streets or closed streets, depending on how you look at it, as well as other things happening in our business districts, and then talk about parking. And as I mentioned, at that point, we'll discontinue the recording, and then we'll open it up for general two-way dialogue with our community members that are able to join us live. All right, next slide, please. So with that, mention this, but again, we'll start off with the recording and then come back to the Q&A that will be not recorded, but that will be ready to go in a few minutes. So with that, next slide, please, and then I'll turn it over to Kara.
Actually, Rachel, is this you?
Sure, happy to jump in. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Tanner. I'm the Assistant Director of Planning and Development Services. And Kara Apple does provide a lot of services to our businesses and our downtown and CalAv and other businesses. So certainly, Kara, jump in if there are things that I missed that you want to highlight. So as you know, our state is still in the purple tier, and those restrictions remain in effect. So just to refresh, there's a 4-color tier system for every county in the state, and it goes from purple all the way up to yellow. Previously, we had been, I think, on our way towards orange when we had the shelter-in-place order that was revised in late last year and in place until just a few weeks ago. But we are back into the color-coded system, and purple is where there's still widespread transmission of the coronavirus in the community. So we want to continue to following our protocols. Please wear your mask when you're not in your home. Try not to mix with other households, wash your hands frequently, using hand sanitizer if that's not available. And that includes folks who have been vaccinated to continue to observe social distancing and other protocols that are in place, as well as a travel quarantine that remains in place. So if you go further than 150 miles away from Santa Clara County, when you return, you're asked to observe a 10-day quarantine, again, to make sure that you, during that time period, don't have the symptoms and manifest that you have contracted the coronavirus. There's also some updates about the county vaccine. sccfreevax.org is a one-stop shop to get a look at where you can possibly get a vaccine. As you may have heard, supply of the vaccine itself is very limited. And so still vaccines are being offered to healthcare personnel, long-term care facility residents, as well as workers there, and people who are 65 and older. So continue to track that and try to just, I know it can be a test of patience to go and revisit the site if you're in the age group or an eligible group to see if and when there may be appointments available for you. And you can also look for your healthcare provider, but again, the sccfreevax.org is a great resource for more vaccine information. Kara, anything before we go to the next slide?
Nope, I think you've covered it all.
Great, thank you. Can we go to the next slide, Megan? So just a little bit of information about how the county is doing overall. As of last Friday, we had about 106,000 cases of the coronavirus in the county as a whole. The 7-day rolling average of new cases was 444 cases per day, which is down from previous amounts. There are about 325 people in the hospital with COVID and due to COVID, and of those, 93 were in the ICU. COVID patients are about 27% of all ICU beds, and just 18% of beds are available. You'll recall the availability of ICU beds is one of the things that was really challenging late last year. It's good to see it going to 18, but certainly would like to see more availability in the ICU system. And so even again, while cases are declining, we got news that a South African variant was detected in Santa Clara County and Alameda County. And so there are other variants that are spreading. And so we again want to ask people to not to travel, to remind you to reduce your risk and reduce exposing yourself to the virus or anyone that you know, and especially folks that you don't live with. Next slide, please. And violations and enforcement. So a new administrative process is going to be rolled out to enforce violations of the health order. And the county has been asking local government to assist and issue administrative notices for violation in 4 main areas: when social distancing is violated, including capacity at businesses and that being posted; unlawful gathering, so if there's any parties or gatherings of people that are outside of the rules; after hours business complaints; and after hour gathering complaints. You can report any health violations that you observe at scccovidconcerns.org. It's a lot of C's in a row, so it's scccovidconcerns.org, or by calling 408-961-5500. You can also call our police department here if you have a concern that you want to get responded to immediately. If it doesn't rise to the level of an emergency, you can call the dispatch center at 650-329-2413. And the city is also working together to make sure that our businesses that are operating outside and others know the rules and are aware of what the rules are, and so that they can follow them and help keep themselves and their employees and any of their patrons safe, and limit the spread of the coronavirus. Anything to add, Kara, before we move on to the next slide?
No, that covers it all. Thank you.
Great. And we'll go to the next slide. And I think this is me still, unless someone says otherwise. So this is about March and April testing dates that have been added. So we just want to continue along with washing your hands and staying 6 feet away, to get tested if you have any concern that you might have been exposed or concern that you have coronavirus. There's Tuesdays and every other Wednesday from 10 to 4 p.m. by appointment only at the Mitchell Park Library. Also, they'll be on February 26th from 9:30 to 4:30 by appointment at the Mitchell Park Community Center. There's new dates also on March 5th and March 19th, as well as April 2nd and 16th. And again, these are free. You don't need a doctor's note to get the testing, but you do need to make an appointment. And you can find out more at cityofpaloalto.org/testing. So, Kara, do you want to do this slide, or is this Brad? Is this you?
I think this is on to me. Thanks,
Okay,
Rachel.
you're welcome.
I'm Brad Eggleston, Director of Public Works, and I'll give the update on the Uplift Local program. So with the recent lifting of the statewide regional health order, Palo Alto was able to resume our Uplift Local program that allowed restaurants and retail stores to use the street and sidewalk spaces. So California Avenue has been closed to vehicles for a little over 2 weeks now. And the closure limits there are from El Camino Real to Birch Street. And then University Avenue and downtown vehicle closures resumed last Friday and were in effect through the weekend. And the limits there are shown here, a little more complicated. We've got the University Avenue from Ramona to Kipling, pedestrian only, the half block closure on Ramona, just north of Hamilton, and then from Kipling to Cowper, the 1-lane closure and traffic pattern. And I would just note that for both Cal Ave and the University Avenue downtown area, these configurations are the same as what we had in place before the state health order stopped outdoor dining in early December. So that's the return to the open streets. Next slide, please. So another exciting development that's been in the works for a while, but will be coming soon, are the public art murals, some of which are shown here, that will be installed on California Avenue and University Avenue. And the initial pilot for this program includes 8 murals in total. They'll be installed on windows and walls in the business districts. And the intent is that they would be displayed for up to a year. And as shown on the slide, the program's purpose is to animate our commercial corridors and storefronts to help encourage pedestrian traffic in these business districts. The murals were created by local artists, and in the search for local artists and the murals, they were asked to explore themes of resiliency, empathy, healing, cultural diversity, and vibrancy. And then I would just add that this is a pilot program. So depending on how successful it is, we may end up increasing the number of artists and installation sites that will be considered in the program. Okay, that's it on this. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Philip Cami, Chief Transportation Official from the Office of Transportation. So the new California Avenue Garage opened on December 8th. And along with providing additional parking capacity and EV charging, it also includes bicycle storage. So I'd like to encourage you all to ride your bike to California Avenue to park at the new garage and support your local merchants. As Director Eggleston mentioned just 2 slides ago, both the University Avenue and California Avenue pedestrian programs are going to be extended or are currently extended. And we're continuing to offer free parking in the public garages and lots in the areas. We've also restarted parking enforcement in the RPPs, and we're currently evaluating the parking impacts and developing plans for reinitiating citywide parking enforcement. And with that, I'll hand the presentation back to, I'm not sure if it's Megan or Ed.
Hi everyone, Megan Horgan-Taylor. Just wanted to, before we kick off our question and answer session, wanted to highlight our upcoming meetings. All the meetings start at 5:30 and they are held once a month on the third Tuesdays of the month, second Tuesday of the month. Our next meeting will be March 16th, and then you could see the other dates here through June at this point. All the events and all of these meeting dates with the Zoom link and everything are available at our www.upliftlocal.org webpage under events. And we also wanted to remind the community that we have an online survey that's continuing to be open to gain community input about Uplift Local, about the street closures and your overall experience while you're downtown or on Cal Ave, experiencing outdoor dining and retail opportunities. Feel free to share that link broadly. We'd love to hear from you and hear your experience as you visit our business district areas. Also, if you have comments, maybe you're kind of shy and you don't want to ask your question today, but you have a question, you can always feel free to email us at citymgr@cityofpaloalto.org. And so I think at this point, I'll stop sharing the PowerPoint, and I think Darren's going to help